Jessica filmed my oxygen tank malfunction and said I'd be gone by Christmas. It was Thanksgiving night. My breathing machine started beeping that familiar low oxygen warning. As I fumbled with the dial, Jessica whipped out her phone. "Oh my God, look at this!" she laughed, zooming in on my shaking hands. "Sarah, you have to see this. The old man can barely breathe without his little machine." She turned the camera to her face, grinning. "Honestly, I give him 2 months. Tops. He'll be gone by Christmas, and then we can finally live like normal people instead of babysitting a corpse." I looked up, made eye contact through her phone screen, smiled calmly. "Jessica," I said quietly, "you might be surprised how much life I have left in me." What she didn't know was my keychain device had been recording every cruel word for 3 weeks. By morning, my $8.2 million will would be completely rewritten. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happened next. Let me back up. Boom. I'm Harold Brennan, 72 years old, and 3 years ago I was worth $200 million. Built TechFlow solutions from my garage in 1987 to a company that Google acquired in 2019 for exactly $212 million. My wife Sarah died in 2021. Cancer. After 43 years of marriage, I was lost. Robert, my son, stepped in with Jessica. They'd been married 2 years by then. At first, I was grateful. "Dad needs family around him," Robert said. "Jessica's great with organization. She'll help you get back on your feet." Jessica did organize things. She organized me right out of my own life. It started small. September 2023, I wanted to take my grandkids Madison and Tyler to their soccer games. Jessica said no. "Harold, you're not stable enough to drive kids around. What if you have an episode?" Episode. That was her word for my COPD flare-ups. Like I was having mental breakdowns instead of breathing difficulties. October came. Tyler's 9th birthday party. Jessica moved it from my house to theirs without telling me. "We just thought it would be easier," she said when I showed up to an empty house. "You know, less stress on your system." The kids were confused. "Why isn't Grandpa here?" I heard Madison ask later on Robert's phone. "Grandpa wasn't feeling well, sweetie. He needs his rest." That was a lie. I felt fine that day, better than I had in months. By November, I wasn't invited to family dinners anymore. Jessica would text Robert, never me directly, about my declining condition. Text message, November 3rd. "Your dad seems really out of it lately. Maybe we should limit the kid's exposure until he's more stable." November 10th. Harold called 3 times today asking about Thanksgiving plans. I think his memory is getting worse. Should we be concerned? I called 3 times because no one answered the first 2 calls. The isolation got systematic. Jessica started spreading stories to other family members. My brother Tom called me November 15th. "Harold, Jessica's worried about you. She says you've been having memory problems, forgetting conversations, getting confused about dates. Tom, that's not true. She showed me texts you supposedly sent. Really weird stuff, Harold. Maybe you should see a doctor. I never sent those texts." When I asked Jessica about it, she said, "Oh, you probably just don't remember." It's okay, Harold. It happens at your age. The neighbors started treating me differently too. Mrs. Patterson next door stopped waving when I checked my mail. The mailman began leaving packages by the door instead of handing them to me directly. Then came the financial manipulation attempts. Jessica started asking questions about my investments, my bank accounts, whether I had a financial advisor. "Robert and I are just worried," she'd say. "At your age, with your condition, maybe you shouldn't be making big financial decisions alone." I'd built a $200 million company, managed complex mergers, negotiated with venture capitalists and Fortune 500 executives. But suddenly I couldn't be trusted to pay my electric bill. The worst part? She was doing it all with this sweet, concerned voice, like she was the loving daughter-in-law, just looking out for poor, declining Harold. November 20th, she had lunch with my estate attorney, Margaret Foster, without my permission. "I'm just concerned about Harold's mental state," Jessica told Margaret. "He's been acting strange." Paranoid. Maybe it's time to discuss power of attorney arrangements. Margaret called me immediately. "Harold, I need to ask you something, and I want a straight answer. Are you experiencing any cognitive decline? Margaret, I'm sharp as I've ever been. Why would you ask that? Your daughter-in-law seems to think otherwise. She's suggesting you might need help managing your affairs. That's when I knew. This wasn't just emotional abuse. This was a systematic campaign to declare me incompetent, to take control of my $8.2 million estate. I started paying attention, really paying attention. Jessica never visited me alone, always had witnesses, always acted caring and concerned in front of others. But when it was just family, when she thought no one important was listening, he's such a burden, I heard her tell someone on the phone November 22nd. Just sitting in that big house, wasting money on medical equipment, taking up space. Robert feels guilty, but honestly, I'll be relieved when it's over. That's when I bought the recording device. A tiny digital recorder that looks like a keychain fob, 64 hours of storage, voice activation, completely legal in California as long as one party, me, knows about the recording. For 3 weeks, I documented everything. Every conversation, every cruel comment, every lie she told about my mental state. 47 separate recordings, 3 weeks of evidence. But the recording device captured something I never expected to hear, something that would change everything about how I understood Jessica's real motives. The phone call happened on November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving. Jessica didn't know I was in the kitchen, didn't know my keychain was on the counter, recording every word. She was talking to her sister in Dallas, her real sister, not the fake FaceTime sister from Thanksgiving night. Sarah, I swear to God, if this old man doesn't die soon, I'm going to lose my mind. The inheritance is supposed to be split between me and Robert, but at this rate, he's going to blow it all on medical bills and live another 10 years. Inheritance. She wasn't just waiting for me to die naturally. She was actively hoping for it, planning for it. I've already started the groundwork, she continued. Everyone thinks he's losing his mind. His own lawyer is starting to doubt his competence. A few more months of this, and I can have him declared unfit. Then Robert and I control everything. The recording device captured 43 minutes of that conversation. Her real voice, her real plans, her real opinion of the man who built the fortune she wanted to inherit. But what she said next would give me the perfect weapon for what was coming. You know what the worst part is, Sarah? He actually thinks we care about him. Like, genuinely thinks Robert and I love having him around. Jessica's voice was clear through the recording device. Crystal clear. She was pacing in my living room, 20 feet away, thinking she had complete privacy. He keeps trying to bond with Robert about work stuff. Tech industry stories from the 80s. It's pathetic. Robert just nods and pretends to listen because he feels guilty. Her sister's voice was fainter, but audible. At least you're getting something out of it. 8 million is 8 million. 8.2 actually, but here's the thing. I did the math. His medical expenses are running about $3,400 a month. The oxygen equipment alone costs $2,800 monthly to rent. Then there's his medications, doctor visits, physical therapy. She knew my medical costs down to the dollar. She'd been tracking them. If he lives another 5 years, which he might, the stubborn old goat, that's over $200,000 in medical bills. Money that should be ours. Ours, not Robert's, not the grandkids. Ours, Jessica's. So, what's your plan? Her sister asked. I'm documenting everything. His confusion, his memory problems, his physical decline, building a case that he's not competent to manage his affairs. But is he actually declining? Jessica laughed. That same sharp, cruel laugh I'd heard at dinner. Sarah, the man built a tech company from nothing. He's still sharp as a tack. But that doesn't matter if everyone believes he isn't. My own daughter-in-law admitting I was mentally sound, while simultaneously plotting to have me declared incompetent. I've already got his lawyer questioning his judgment. His neighbors think he's losing it. Even Robert's starting to worry. What about the grandkids? Madison and Tyler? They're kids. They'll believe whatever we tell them. Grandpa was sick. Now he's in a better place. They'll get over it. She was planning to erase me from my grandchildren's lives, completely. The beauty of it is, Harold's doing half the work for me. He's so desperate for family connection, he'll agree to anything. Sign anything, as long as he thinks it means more time with Robert and the kids. You're evil, Jess, but smart. I prefer strategic. Look, Robert's a good guy, but he's weak. He won't fight for his inheritance. He'll just accept whatever scraps are left after Harold's medical bills eat everything up. Someone has to think long-term here. She was wrong about Robert being weak, but she was right that he wouldn't fight. My son avoided conflict like the plague. Always had, even as a kid. How long do you think you have? His COPD is getting worse. The doctor said maybe 2 years if he's lucky, but honestly, I don't think he has the will to fight much longer, especially once he realizes how alone he really is. Alone. She wanted me to die feeling alone. You should see him at family dinners. When he was still invited. Just sitting there, trying so hard to be relevant, telling stories about the old days, like anyone cares how he built some boring software company. My boring software company that paid for her lifestyle, the house she lived in, the car she drove, the designer clothes she wore. Remember that Hermes bag Robert bought me for our anniversary? The Birkin? The $47,000 one? That's Harold's money. Everything nice we have is Harold's money. But does he ever hold it over our heads? Number. He just keeps giving and giving, hoping we'll love him for it. And you don't. Sarah, I can barely stand being in the same room as him. The constant wheezing, the oxygen tank following him around like some mechanical pet. The way he lights up when we visit, like we're doing him this huge favor. She found my gratitude disgusting. My joy at seeing my family was something to mock. Plus, he smells like those medical creams, and his hands shake when he eats. It's gross. I was dying slowly, and my appearance offended her. But the absolute worst part? He thinks I'm his daughter. Like, actually calls me his daughter sometimes. My daughter, Jessica. It makes my skin crawl. I did call her my daughter. After Sarah died, Jessica was the closest thing to a daughter I had. I'd thought she appreciated that. 2 more years of this, maximum. Then Robert and I can finally live like normal people. What if he doesn't die naturally? The line went quiet for a moment. I'm not saying I'd do anything, but if his medications got mixed up somehow, or if he fell down those stairs to his bedroom, accidents happen to old people all the time. My blood went cold. She wasn't just hoping for my death. She was considering helping it along. Jessica, that's... Relax, Sarah. I'm not going to murder him. Probably. But I'm also not going to go out of my way to keep him alive if nature wants to take its course. Probably. She said probably. Besides, he's making it easy. No exercise, terrible diet, barely leaves the house except for doctor appointments. He's doing everything right to die as quickly as possible. You're terrible. I'm realistic. Robert's too sentimental to see it. But Harold's not living, he's just existing. We'd be doing him a favor by putting him out of his misery. So what's next? Keep documenting his decline. Real or imagined. Keep isolating him from anyone who might support him. And wait. How long? Like I said, Christmas. Maybe New Year's if we're unlucky. That phrase again. The same one she'd use at Thanksgiving dinner. She'd been planning this conversation for weeks. Oh, and Sarah? If anyone ever asks, I've been nothing but loving and supportive. The devoted daughter-in-law who sacrificed everything to take care of her husband's dying father. Got it. I have to go. Robert's coming home, and I need to practice looking sad about Harold's condition. The call ended. 43 minutes of evidence. 43 minutes of Jessica's real thoughts about me, her real plans for my future, and her real feelings about my family. I sat in my kitchen for an hour, listening to that recording 3 more times, making sure I'd heard everything correctly. I had. Every cruel word. The device had captured something else too. Something that would make my next decision incredibly easy. By morning, Jessica would discover that planning someone's death while spending their money has consequences. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Jessica's voice. Accidents happen to old people all the time. At 2:30 a.m., I called Margaret Foster, my estate attorney for 15 years. She'd handled the sale of TechFlow, my wife's will, every major financial decision since retirement. Harold? It's the middle of the night. Are you okay? Margaret, I need to change my will. Tonight. Right now. Harold, this is highly unusual. Can it wait until... No, it cannot wait. Jessica was right about one thing. I might not have much time left, but it won't be for the reasons she thinks. I could hear Margaret sitting up in bed, becoming alert. What's going on? I have evidence that Jessica is planning my death. Not just hoping for it, planning it. Harold, that's a serious accusation. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? Margaret, I recorded her. 43 minutes of conversation with her sister. She admits I'm mentally competent, then describes her plan to have me declared incompetent. Anyway, she talks about accidents and helping nature take its course. Silence on the other end. Margaret, she knows my medical expenses down to the dollar. She's been tracking how much of the inheritance gets spent keeping me alive every month. $2,800 for oxygen equipment. $3,400 total monthly medical costs. Send me the recording. I will. But first, I need that will changed. Tonight. Harold, even if what you're saying is true, you can't make major estate decisions based on emotion. We need to think this through. I've been thinking it through for 3 hours. Here's what I want. Robert keeps his inheritance. The house, his portion of the investments, everything I plan to leave him. But Jessica gets nothing. 0. Harold, I'm not done. The $8.2 million I was leaving to both of them? It goes into a trust fund. For Madison and Tyler only. They can't access it until they're 25 years old. And Jessica can never touch it, no matter what happens to Robert. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. You want to disinherit your daughter-in-law completely. I want to protect my grandchildren from someone who sees their grandfather's death as a payday. Harold, this will destroy your family. Margaret, my family is already destroyed. I just didn't know it yet. I heard typing on her end, Margaret taking notes. If we do this, there's no going back. Once Jessica learns she's been cut out, the situation will escalate. Good. Let it escalate. I have evidence of everything she's done, everything she's planning to do. What kind of evidence? 3 weeks of recordings, her admitting she's been lying about my mental state, her hoping I die soon so she can inherit, her talking about accidents happening to old people. More typing. Harold, I need to ask this directly. Do you feel safe in your home? Not anymore, but I'm not running. I'm fighting. Okay, I'll draft the new will tonight, but I strongly recommend you don't tell anyone about this change until we have additional safeguards in place. What kind of safeguards? Security cameras, documentation of your mental competency, maybe even a bodyguard if you're genuinely afraid for your safety. I'm not afraid, Margaret. I'm angry. There's a difference. Anger can be dangerous, Harold. Don't do anything impulsive. This isn't impulsive. This is justice. I hung up with Margaret at 3:15 a.m., sent her the audio file of Jessica's conversation. By 4 a.m., she'd called back. Harold, I've listened to the recording. This is worse than you described. So you'll change the will? I'm changing it right now. But Harold, you need to understand what you're doing. When Jessica finds out, and she will find out eventually, this becomes a war. Margaret, the war already started. I just didn't know I was fighting it. The new will was finalized by 6 a.m. Notarized, witnessed, legally binding. Jessica Brennan, $0. Madison and Tyler Brennan, $8.2 million, held in trust until age 25. But I wasn't done. The will change was just the beginning. At 7 a.m., I called Dave McKinnon, private investigator, former LAPD detective. Margaret had used him for complex corporate investigations during the TechFlow acquisition. Dave, it's Harold Brennan, Margaret Foster's client. I need to hire you. What's the situation? I need you to investigate my daughter-in-law. Financial records, personal background, daily activities, everything. What are you looking for? Evidence of fraud, evidence of abuse, evidence of anything that proves she's not who she pretends to be. Budget? $5,000 to start, more if needed. Timeline? Fast. I might not have long. Understood. I'll start today. As I hung up, I heard a car in the driveway. Robert's Tesla, coming for our usual Friday morning coffee, our weekly father-son tradition that Jessica had been trying to eliminate for months. Robert had no idea his wife had spent the previous evening planning my death, but he was about to start learning who he'd really married. Dave McKinnon called back 3 days later with photographs I never expected to see. Harold, we need to meet. In person. What I found, you're going to want to sit down for this. Tuesday, December 3rd, 2 p.m. Dave's office in downtown Palo Alto, a converted warehouse space with exposed brick walls and high-tech surveillance equipment. This wasn't some cheap private eye operation. Dave McKinnon was serious business. "I've been following Jessica for 72 hours, Dave said, sliding a manila folder across his desk. "Her routine is very consistent, very predictable, and very different from what she's been telling your son." I opened the folder. The first photograph hit me like a punch to the gut. Jessica, in workout clothes, kissing a man who definitely wasn't Robert. Broad shoulders, sleeve tattoos, maybe 30 years old. The timestamp read, Tuesday, December 1st, 2:47 p.m. Who is he? Brad Collins, personal trainer at Elite Fitness on University Avenue. 29 years old, divorced, drives a modified Jeep Wrangler. Jessica's been seeing him for 8 months. 8 months. While she was planning my death, she was cheating on my son. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m., Jessica tells Robert she's going to yoga class. Peaceful Path Yoga Studio on Forest Avenue. Except she's never been to Peaceful Path Yoga. Dave spread out more photographs. Jessica and Brad entering the Marriott courtyard on Tuesday, leaving together 2 hours later. Jessica's car parked behind Brad's Jeep at a secluded spot near Stanford campus on Thursday. "The affair is one thing," Dave continued, "but it gets worse." He handed me a thick stack of papers. Credit card statements, bank records, loan applications. "Your daughter-in-law has $89,000 in debt that your son doesn't know about." I flipped through the pages. 6 different credit cards, all maxed out. Nordstrom, $12,000. American Express, $18,000. Chase Sapphire, $21,000. The Hermes bag she bragged about to her sister? The $47,000 Birkin? Robert didn't buy that for their anniversary. Jessica bought it herself with a cash advance from a credit card at 24% interest. How is this possible? Robert makes good money at Google. Robert makes $160,000 a year. Comfortable, but not luxury lifestyle money. Jessica's been living like she makes 5 times that amount. Dave pulled out his laptop, opened a spreadsheet. Here's her monthly spending for the past year. Average of $11,000 per month. Restaurants, shopping, spa treatments, personal training sessions with Brad that cost $200 each. $200 per session for 8 months with her boyfriend. She's been using her expected inheritance as collateral for loans. Told 3 different lenders that she's inheriting $8 million within the next 2 years. She used my death as a business plan? Gets worse, Harold. Look at this. Dave showed me a loan application dated November 15th, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Jessica applied for a $200,000 personal loan, listed her expected inheritance as primary asset. The loan officer's notes say she was confident the inheritance would be available soon due to borrower's father-in-law's declining health. She was borrowing against my corpse. How much total debt? $89,000 in credit cards, $50,000 in personal loans, another $37,000 in medical debt that she's been hiding. Medical debt? Plastic surgery, breast augmentation, Botox, laser treatments, all done at an elite clinic in San Francisco. She told the clinic she was paying cash, but she's been making minimum payments for 2 years. I stared at the numbers. My daughter-in-law had spent more than I earned in my first 5 years at TechFlow. Dave, does Robert know any of this? No indication that he does. She's been intercepting mail using a separate address for credit card statements, even set up a fake email account to handle loan correspondence. What about the personal training sessions? Those are particularly interesting. Look at this receipt. Dave handed me a crumpled paper from Elite Fitness. Not a receipt for training sessions, a receipt for couples training. Jessica and Brad listed as training partners, 40 sessions paid in advance. She's been paying for her boyfriend's gym membership. $2,000 charged to Robert's joint account as health and wellness expenses. My son was unknowingly funding his wife's affair. There's more, Harold. Jessica's been researching elder care law, specifically how to have someone declared mentally incompetent in California. Dave showed me browser history from Jessica's laptop. Search terms that made my blood run cold. Signs of dementia in elderly, legal requirements in competency declaration, how to contest a will in California. She's been planning this for months, maybe years. One more thing, Dave said, pulling out his phone. I managed to get audio from her conversation with Brad yesterday. She doesn't know I was recording, but California is a one-party consent state, and I was present in the gym. He pressed play, Jessica's voice crystal clear. Baby, I know this is hard, but we just have to wait a little longer. Harold's getting weaker every week. The doctor thinks maybe 6 months tops. Brad's voice. What if he doesn't die naturally? Don't talk like that. We're not murderers, but if he had an accident, fell down the stairs, forgot to take his medications properly, these things happen. Jess, it sounds like nature taking its course. Look, I've already started isolating him from anyone who might interfere. His lawyer's starting to question his mental state. His own brother thinks he's losing it. And if someone investigates? Investigates what? A sick old man who died from his existing condition? Harold has COPD, heart problems, high blood pressure. He's a walking medical emergency waiting to happen. Dave stopped the recording. Harold, she's not just planning to inherit your money. She's planning to make sure you don't live long enough to spend much more of it. I sat back in Dave's chair, processing everything. The affair, the debt, the lies, the research into having me declared incompetent, the casual discussions about helping my death along. What do you recommend, Dave? Honestly, you need protection. Physical protection and legal protection. This woman is dangerous. No, what I need is more evidence. Enough to destroy her completely. Dave smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Now you're talking my language. What did you have in mind? I want everything. Every lie she's told Robert. Every dollar she's stolen. Every conversation she's had about my death. Every moment she's spent with her boyfriend on my son's dime. That kind of investigation will take time and money. Dave, I've got $8.2 million and however much time I have left. Let's use both wisely. When do we start? We already started. Now let's finish what she began. But first, I had to have a very interesting conversation with my son about yoga classes that cost $200 per session. Robert came over Friday morning as usual, our weekly coffee tradition. He looked tired, stressed. I wondered how much of Jessica's financial pressure was affecting him without him even knowing it. Dad, how are you feeling? Jessica mentioned you seemed confused yesterday when she stopped by. Jessica hadn't stopped by yesterday. I'd been home all day, security cameras running continuously. Robert, tell me about Jessica's yoga classes. Her yoga classes? What about them? How much do they cost? I don't know, maybe $30, $40 per session? Why? Your bank statement shows $200 every Tuesday and Thursday for health and wellness expenses. That's premium personal training money, not group yoga. Robert's face shifted. Confusion, then concern. Dad, are you checking my bank statements? No, son. I'm checking Jessica's spending habits. Did you know she has 6 maxed out credit cards? That's not... Dad, Jessica handles our finances. She's good with money. Robert, sit down. I showed him Dave's folder. Not everything, not the affair photos yet, but the debt records, the credit card statements, the loan applications using my death as collateral. Robert went pale. This can't be right. These numbers. We don't spend this much. $89,000 in credit card debt, $50,000 in personal loans. She's been borrowing against my inheritance, telling lenders I'll be dead within 2 years. Dad, stop. Just stop. Jessica wouldn't... She's not. Robert, she's been lying to you about where she goes twice a week. She's been lying about your finances. What else has she been lying about? That's when Robert's phone buzzed. Text message from Jessica. Speak of the devil, I said. Robert read the text aloud. Honey, your dad called me this morning acting really paranoid. He was asking weird questions about money and accusing me of lying. I think his condition is getting worse. Maybe we should call Dr. Peterson. I hadn't called Jessica. I hadn't spoken to her since Thanksgiving. Robert, what time did she send that text? 10:47 a.m. It's 10:53 now. I've been sitting here with you since 10:30. When exactly did I call her? Robert stared at his phone, then at me. Robert, your wife is creating a false narrative in real time. She's documenting my supposed mental decline for her incompetency case. Dad, that's paranoid thinking. Maybe she's right. Maybe you should see Dr. Peterson. Son, I need you to do something for me. Call Elite Fitness on University Avenue. Ask them about Jessica's training sessions with Brad Collins. Who's Brad Collins? Just make the call. Robert reluctantly dialed, put it on speaker. Elite Fitness, this is Monica. Hi, this is Robert Brennan. I wanted to ask about my wife Jessica's training sessions. I'm thinking about joining her. Oh, Jessica! She's one of Brad's regulars. Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30. Sweet couple, those two. Very dedicated to their fitness goals. The line went quiet. Excuse me, Robert said slowly. Did you say couple? Jessica and Brad, yeah. They've been training together for months. Couples fitness is really popular now. Are you thinking about switching trainers, or do you want to join their sessions? Robert hung up. We sat in silence for 2 minutes. Dad, Robert said finally, his voice barely a whisper. How long have you known? 3 days. I hired a private investigator. How long has this been going on? 8 months, maybe longer. Robert put his head in his hands. The yoga classes. She's been lying about yoga classes. Robert, the affair is just the beginning. She's been systematically destroying my reputation, planning to have me declared incompetent, and discussing ways to help my death along. Robert looked up. Help your death along? I have recordings, son. Lots of recordings. That's when Jessica's car pulled into the driveway. Her white BMW X5, the one Robert thought he was making payments on, but was actually leased under her secret loans. Robert, whatever happens next, remember this. I love you. I love Madison and Tyler. But Jessica has declared war on this family, and I intend to win it. Jessica walked in without knocking, smiling that fake, concerned smile. Harold, sweetie, you look upset. Robert, did your father have another episode? Robert stood up slowly, Dave's folder still open on the coffee table, credit card statements scattered across the surface. Jessica, Robert said, his voice deadly calm, we need to talk. That's when Jessica noticed the papers. Her smile disappeared. Robert, what's all this? This, Jessica, is $89,000 in debt that I apparently helped you accumulate while you've been sleeping with your personal trainer. Jessica's mask didn't just slip. It shattered completely. Robert, I can explain everything, Jessica said, but her voice had changed. Gone was the sweet, concerned daughter-in-law tone. This was sharp, defensive, calculating. Explain the debt, Jessica. Explain Brad Collins. Explain the yoga classes that aren't yoga classes. Jessica's eyes darted between Robert and me, then landed on the scattered papers. I watched her brain work, trying to find an angle, a way to spin this. Harold's been spying on me, she said finally. This is harassment. This is what I've been trying to tell you, Robert. He's becoming paranoid, invasive. This proves he's not mentally stable. Jessica, I called Elite Fitness myself. They told me about you and Brad. Your couple's training sessions. That doesn't mean anything. Brad's just my trainer. For 8 months, paying for his gym membership, meeting him at hotels, Jessica went completely still. What hotels? Robert pulled out his phone, scrolled to the photos Dave had sent me. The Marriott Courtyard. Tuesday afternoon. Jessica and Brad, walking out together, her hand on his arm. These hotels, Jessica. I watched something die in Jessica's eyes. Not shame, not regret, just calculation. She was deciding whether to keep lying or switch strategies entirely. She chose option 3. Fine, she said, her voice now completely different. Cold, hard. You want the truth? Here's the truth. I've been unhappy for years, Robert. Years. Stuck in this boring marriage, taking care of your dying father, pretending to be grateful for scraps. Robert actually stepped backward. Harold's condition has been taking over our entire lives. Our finances, our time, our future. I needed something for myself. Someone who made me feel alive instead of like a caregiver. So you decided to cheat. I decided to survive. Do you have any idea what it's like watching your husband choose his father over his wife every single day? Harold comes first. Harold's medical bills come first. Harold's feelings come first. Jessica, he's my father. He's a burden, Robert. And if you can't see that, maybe you're not the man I thought I married. She was done pretending. The sweet, caring Jessica was gone forever. You know what? I'm glad this is out in the open. I'm tired of pretending to care about a selfish old man who's wasting our inheritance on medical equipment. Your inheritance, I said quietly. Jessica turned to me with pure hatred in her eyes. Yes, Harold, my inheritance. 20 years from now, when you're finally gone, Robert and I should be able to enjoy what's left. Instead, you're bleeding money on oxygen tanks and medications, dragging this out as long as possible. Jessica, stop, Robert said. No, I won't stop. I've been tiptoeing around his feelings for 3 years. Harold, you want to know what I really think? I think you're selfish. I think you're clinging to life out of spite. I think you get some sick satisfaction from watching us wait. Robert was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. And you know what else? I don't feel guilty about Brad. Brad makes me happy. Brad doesn't make me pretend to care about some old man's breathing problems. That's when Jessica made her fatal mistake. She pulled out her phone. Robert, if you want to believe your paranoid father over your wife, that's your choice. But I'm not going to stand here and be accused by someone who's clearly losing his mind. She started typing furiously. Jessica, what are you doing? I'm documenting this. Harold's erratic behavior, his accusations, his obvious mental decline. This conversation proves everything I've been telling people. She held up her phone, filming me. Say hello to social media, Harold. Let's see what people think about an elderly man who hires private investigators to stalk his daughter-in-law. She was live streaming on TikTok. I could see the comments starting to appear. This is my father-in-law, everyone. He's been harassing me for months, accusing me of terrible things because his mind is going. The comments were sympathetic. Poor woman. Elder abuse works both ways. Old men can be so controlling. Jessica was good at this, playing the victim, creating her narrative in real time. Robert won't protect me from his father's accusations. This sweet old man act? It's fake. He's mean, paranoid, and honestly a little scary. More comments, more sympathy. I've been nothing but loving and supportive, and this is how he repays me. By invading my privacy and making up stories about my marriage. She turned the camera on Robert. Tell them, honey. Tell them how your father's been acting lately. Robert looked directly into the camera. Jessica, turn it off. No, I want people to see what I'm dealing with. I want witnesses to Harold's behavior. Jessica, turn off the goddamn phone. She didn't. She kept filming, kept talking, kept building her case. That's when I realized Jessica had just handed me the perfect weapon. She was creating evidence against herself, broadcasting her real personality to hundreds of strangers, showing the world exactly who she was when she thought she was winning. But what she didn't know was that Dave McKinnon was parked outside, recording everything through the living room windows with telephoto equipment. And tomorrow, the whole internet would see a very different version of this story. Saturday morning, December 7th. Margaret Foster's law office. Conference room with mahogany table, leather chairs, and enough evidence to destroy Jessica's life spread across every surface. Harold, in 30 years of estate law, I've never seen anything like this, Margaret said, reviewing Dave's final report. This isn't just elder abuse. This is systematic financial fraud, adultery, and conspiracy to commit inheritance fraud. Dave McKinnon sat across from us, his laptop open, external hard drives plugged in. The social media live stream yesterday was the final piece, Dave said. Jessica filmed herself admitting to the affair, calling Harold selfish for staying alive, and claiming ownership of his inheritance. Then she posted it publicly. How many people saw it? Before she deleted it? 47,000 views. But here's the thing about the internet, Harold. Nothing ever really disappears. Dave turned his laptop screen toward me. Jessica's TikTok video, saved in crystal clear quality. I downloaded it the moment she went live. Plus, I was recording through your living room window with professional equipment. Multiple angles, professional sound quality. Margaret pulled out a legal pad, started making lists. Let's do the accounting. Dave, walk us through everything we have. 47 audio recordings of Jessica's conversations over 3 weeks, including the 43-minute phone call with her sister discussing Harold's planned death. Margaret wrote, 47 recordings, conspiracy, elder abuse, financial records showing $89,000 in credit card debt, $50,000 in personal loans, $37,000 in medical debt from plastic surgery, all hidden from Robert. $176,000 total undisclosed debt. Bank records showing Jessica used Harold's expected inheritance as collateral for loans with 3 separate lenders. Inheritance fraud / false statements to financial institutions. 8 months of documented affair with Brad Collins, including hotel receipts, gym membership payments, couples training sessions paid for with Robert's joint account. Adultery with financial theft. Browser history showing Jessica researched California incompetency laws, elder care regulations, and will contest procedures. Premeditated legal fraud. Photographs of Jessica entering hotels with Brad Collins during times she claimed to be at yoga classes. Documented adultery. Yesterday's live stream, where Jessica admitted to the affair, claimed ownership of Harold's inheritance and called him selfish for not dying quickly enough. Margaret stopped writing, looked up. Dave, this is more than enough for a criminal case. Financial fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. Jessica could go to prison. There's more, Dave said. I managed to access Jessica's phone records with a court order. She's been in contact with 3 different elder care attorneys asking about involuntary commitment procedures. She was shopping for lawyers to have me declared incompetent. Gets worse. She contacted Peaceful Transitions Senior Care Facility, asked about availability for emergency placement of elderly family member with advancing dementia. I felt my stomach drop. She already picked out my nursing home? Harold, she had a plan, Margaret said. Systematic, detailed, long-term. Isolate you from family support. Document false mental decline. Have you declared incompetent. Gain power of attorney. Commit you to memory care. Then wait for you to die in institutional care. Dave pulled out more papers. The nursing home conversation happened November 20th. Jessica told them she expected placement within 60 days due to rapid cognitive decline in elderly in-law. Before Thanksgiving, she planned this before the oxygen tank incident. Harold, the oxygen tank was an incident, wasn't spontaneous cruelty. It was performance. She was building her case, creating evidence of your supposed confusion. Margaret started a new legal pad. Okay, let's talk strategy. Harold, you have enough evidence to destroy Jessica legally, financially, and socially. The question is, what do you want to accomplish? I want my son to see who he married. I want my grandchildren protected. And I want Jessica to face consequences for what she's done. Criminal charges, if necessary. But what I really want is justice. Public justice. I want everyone who believed her lies about my mental state to see the truth. Dave smiled. Harold, I have an idea. What if we gave Jessica exactly what she wants? What do you mean? She wants a public forum to prove you're mentally incompetent. She wants witnesses to your declining condition. She wants to demonstrate her loving, concerned daughter-in-law act. And what if we arrange that forum for her? But with our evidence ready to present, Margaret caught on immediately. A family meeting, concerned relatives, maybe some medical professionals, Jessica's witnesses. Let her make her case about Harold's incompetence, then present our evidence systematically. Every recording, every photograph, every financial document, every lie she's told, with witnesses present who can verify Harold's mental competency in real time. I looked at both of them. You're talking about a trap. Harold, Margaret said, your daughter-in-law has been setting traps for you for months. Time to return the favor. When? Next week, before she has time to prepare any more evidence against you. Who do we invite? Dave pulled out his phone. Let me make some calls. By the time we're done, Jessica's going to have the audience she wants. She just won't like what they hear. But first, we needed to make sure Robert was ready for what was coming. Monday, December 15th, 10 a.m., Margaret Foster's conference room. The mahogany table that had seen million-dollar mergers and complex estate disputes was about to host the most important meeting of my life. Jessica arrived first, dressed in her concerned daughter-in-law costume. Navy blue dress, pearl necklace, minimal makeup to suggest stress and worry. She'd brought a folder of her own, no doubt filled with documentation of my supposed mental decline. Robert came next, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Behind him, my brother Tom, followed by Robert's brother Mike from Seattle. Jessica had specifically requested family witnesses. She wanted an audience for my humiliation. What Jessica didn't expect was Dr. Sarah Chen, my former cardiology partner and longtime family friend, or Detective Martinez from the Palo Alto Police Department, or the court stenographer Margaret had quietly arranged. "Harold, you look wonderful," Dr. Chen said, taking my pulse and blood pressure right there at the table. "Oxygen levels normal, blood pressure 120/80, cognitive responses sharp." Jessica's confident smile flickered. "Thank you all for coming," Margaret began. "We're here because Jessica has expressed concerns about Harold's mental competency and his ability to manage his financial affairs." "That's right," Jessica said, opening her folder. "I've been documenting Harold's declining condition for months. His paranoid accusations, his memory problems, his inability to distinguish reality from fantasy." She spread papers across the table, printed screenshots of text messages, photos of me looking confused, a timeline of my supposed cognitive decline. "Harold has accused me of terrible things, completely false things. He hired a private investigator to stalk me, which shows how his judgment has deteriorated." Tom leaned forward. "Harold, is this true? You hired someone to follow Jessica?" "I did." Jessica smiled triumphantly. "And here's what we found," I said. Dave McKinnon entered the room, wheeling a cart with a laptop, speakers, and stacks of evidence. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dave McKinnon, licensed private investigator. Over the past 2 weeks, at Harold Brennan's request, I've conducted a comprehensive investigation into Jessica Brennan's activities and financial conduct." Jessica's face went white. "This is harassment," she said quickly. "This proves Harold's paranoid delusions." "Let's start with the financial evidence," Dave said, connecting his laptop to the room's display screen. Bank statements filled the screen. Credit card bills, loan applications. Jessica Brennan has accumulated $176,000 in debt, hidden from her husband, Robert. This includes $89,000 in credit cards, $50,000 in personal loans, and $37,000 in medical debt from cosmetic procedures. Robert stared at the screen. "Jessica, what is this?" "It's lies. Harold's paying them to fabricate evidence." Dave clicked to the next slide. Loan applications with Jessica's signature. These applications list Harold Brennan's expected inheritance as primary collateral. Jessica told multiple lenders that Harold would die within 2 years, making the inheritance available. Mike, Robert's brother, read aloud from the screen. Primary asset, $8.2 million inheritance expected within 24 months due to elderly in-laws' terminal condition. "You used my death as a business plan," I said quietly. "Harold, that's not... I never..." "Here's the audio," Dave said. Jessica's voice filled the room through professional speakers, crystal clear, her conversation with her sister. "Sarah, I swear to God, if this old man doesn't die soon, I'm going to lose my mind. The inheritance is supposed to be split between me and Robert, but at this rate, he's going to blow it all on medical bills." The room went dead silent. Tom looked at Jessica, then at me. Jesus Christ. The recording continued. Jessica's real voice, her real thoughts about me, her real plans for my future. "I've already started the groundwork. Everyone thinks he's losing his mind. His own lawyer is starting to doubt his competence." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "A few more months of this, and I can have him declared unfit. Then Robert and I control everything." Robert put his head in his hands, but Dave wasn't finished. Here's Jessica discussing Harold's death with her boyfriend, Brad Collins. New recording. Jessica and Brad at the gym. "What if he doesn't die naturally?" "Don't talk like that. We're not murderers. But if he had an accident, fell down the stairs, forgot to take his medications properly, these things happen." Detective Martinez started taking notes. "And here's Jessica's research into involuntary commitment procedures," Dave continued. Browser history filled the screen. Search terms that painted a clear picture: California incompetency laws, involuntary psychiatric hold, elderly, how to contest a will dementia. On November 20th, Jessica contacted Peaceful Transition Senior Care Facility about emergency placement for an elderly family member with advancing dementia. Dr. Chen spoke up. "I've examined Harold today. There are no signs of dementia, cognitive decline, or memory problems. His mental faculties are completely intact. The nursing home conversation happened before Thanksgiving, Dave said. Jessica was planning Harold's institutionalization weeks before the incident she claims triggered her concerns. Jessica stood up abruptly. This is all fake. Harold's paying you to destroy me because he's losing his mind and can't accept it. Jessica, sit down, Margaret said calmly. No, I won't listen to this. Harold's clearly manipulated all of you. This is exactly the kind of paranoid behavior I've been documenting. Then let's see your documentation, Margaret said. Jessica opened her folder again, pulled out her papers. Here are text messages showing Harold's confusion. Photos of him looking disoriented, a timeline of his declining condition. Margaret examined the papers. Jessica, these text messages are from November 28th. The photos are dated November 29th. Your timeline begins November 30th. So, Harold hired Dave McKinnon on December 3rd. Your documentation of his supposed decline was created after Harold began investigating you, not before. The room was completely silent. You created false evidence to support a narrative you knew was fabricated, Margaret continued. Detective Martinez looked up from his notes. Mrs. Brennan, that's a serious accusation. It gets worse, Dave said. Here's Jessica's live stream from last Friday. The TikTok video played on the screen. Jessica's real voice, her real personality, no longer hidden behind the concerned daughter-in-law mask. He's a burden, Robert. And if you can't see that, maybe you're not the man I thought I married. Robert watched his wife call his father selfish for staying alive. I think you're clinging to life out of spite. I think you get some sick satisfaction from watching us wait. Tom shook his head. My God, Jessica. What's wrong with you? And here's Jessica admitting to her 8-month affair, Dave said. Hotel photos, gym receipts, bank records showing payments to Brad Collins. Jessica used Robert's joint account to pay for her boyfriend's gym membership, listing it as health and wellness expenses. Robert finally looked up. His eyes were red, but his voice was steady. Jessica, is any of this true? Jessica looked around the room, at the evidence on the screen, at the faces staring back at her, at Detective Martinez taking notes, at the court stenographer recording everything. She had 2 choices, keep lying or tell the truth. She chose option 3 again. Fine. Yes, all of it's true. Every word. And you know what? I'm not sorry. The room erupted. Harold's been dying for 3 years. 3 years of watching him waste money on medical equipment, taking up space, making us all pretend we're grateful for his presence. Jessica, stop talking, Margaret said. No, I won't stop. I've been pretending to care about a selfish old man who should have died years ago. I'm done pretending. Detective Martinez stood up. Mrs. Brennan, you're going to want to contact a lawyer. Why? For wanting my husband's inheritance? For elder abuse, financial fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and making terroristic threats against an elderly person. Jessica finally understood what was happening. This is a trap. You set me up. Margaret smiled coldly. Jessica, you set yourself up. We just gave you the rope. Harold looked directly at Jessica. You wanted to know what happens when you plan someone's death while spending their money? You're about to find out. Margaret opened the new will. Jessica Brennan, you are hereby removed from all inheritance considerations. Your portion of Harold's estate, $8.2 million, has been placed in trust for Madison and Tyler Brennan, accessible only when they reach age 25. You can't do that. I just did. Harold's mental competency has been verified by Dr. Chen, witnessed by everyone in this room, and documented by a court stenographer. Jessica turned to Robert, desperate. Robert, don't let them do this. I'm your wife. Robert looked at her for a long moment. Jessica, I don't know who you are, but you're not the woman I married, and you're definitely not my wife anymore. What does that mean? It means I'm filing for divorce. Today, Jessica's world collapsed in real time. 6 weeks later, the consequences would be even more comprehensive than anyone imagined. February 1st, 2025. My house is quiet again, but it's a different kind of quiet. Peaceful instead of lonely. Jessica moved out 3 days after the family meeting. The divorce was finalized last week. Robert kept the house, his job, and his dignity. Jessica got her clothes, her car, and a court order to stay away from all of us. The criminal charges were more serious than Detective Martinez initially thought. Elder abuse, financial fraud, conspiracy to commit inheritance fraud, and making terroristic threats. Jessica's trial is scheduled for April. Her public defender says she's looking at 2 to 5 years in prison. Brad Collins, the personal trainer, disappeared the day after Jessica's arrest. Elite Fitness fired him immediately. Last I heard, he was working at a gym in Nevada. Jessica's $47,000 Hermes bag was seized by the court as evidence of financial fraud. Robert comes by every Friday for coffee, just like before. But now we talk about real things: his work, his feelings, his plans for the future. He's seeing a therapist to process the betrayal. He's also seeing someone new, a colleague from Google who thinks oxygen concentrators are life-saving medical equipment, not embarrassing accessories. Madison and Tyler stay with me every other weekend. We work on science projects, watch old movies, and talk about their futures. They know their trust fund exists, but they also know they'll have to earn everything else in life. Good lessons to learn at 12 and 10. My health is stable. The oxygen helps, but I'm not declining as rapidly as Jessica predicted. My doctor says stress reduction can extend life expectancy significantly. Removing toxic people from your environment apparently counts as stress reduction. The recordings that saved my life are now sealed evidence for Jessica's trial, but I kept copies. Sometimes, when I doubt my decision to fight back, I listen to her planning my death while spending my money. I don't feel guilty anymore. Margaret Foster says Jessica's case will be a landmark in elder abuse prosecution. Dave McKinnon used our success to launch a specialized practice protecting elderly clients from financial predators. My $8.2 million estate remains intact, growing in trust funds for grandchildren who will never have to wonder if someone loves them for their inheritance. Sometimes the best revenge is just refusing to disappear quietly, and sometimes the best justice is living long enough to see it delivered.